Welcome everyone to the MMA Vivisection second one today. We are back to talk about RIZIN Fighting Federation, the World Grand Prix 2017, second leg and finals. I'm kind of thinking what we might do. I'm joined by Victor Rodriguez and DEO as always for these weirdo out there cards at the far end of the spectrum. And I'm thinking what we might do is try to play through how we think the Grand Prix is going to go, and then pick the do we think Ian McCall is going to beat Manel Cape? If we do, and then how does Ian McCall face up against Kyoji Horiguchi in the finals? That kind of thing.
Everybody loses to Horiguchi.
I know, but spoilers. But what? Point being, we'll try to figure out if we can figure out what the whole card's going to look like for the second round, even though half of it won't be booked until after the 29th. So, otherwise, RIZIN is back and fucking weirder than ever, man.
Yes, it is. Yeah. There's no two ways about it. They are. That's exactly what the fuck this is.
I don't know. My memory of all the Pride days is a little foggy. Was there any weigh-in publicity for Pride at all, or anything like that, or was it just the events would happen and everybody would show up? And
from what I remember, it was always just the events would happen and people were hype. They were just hype about the matches. It wasn't until the UFC that they made the grand spectacle, they made the boxing spectacle of weigh-ins and so on and so forth, that became a thing. So
I remember Affliction playing with it a bit, there never was there anything on this sort of scale until, as Dio mentioned, until in recent years the UFC was sort of making it a bigger thing. I mean, even Pro Elite kind of did that when Kimbo was there, but that's more of a visibility thing, right? It's more of a promotional tool than anything else.
Yeah,
and Gina.
I think that's what's
Gina.
That's the most recent thing that's just giving Pride that little bit of extra time to be that much weirder, is that now they're starting to do weigh-ins and they're starting to do the pre-fight press and build up and all that. And if you've got a circus, it's a little weird to make all the clowns hang out with each other,
I like how you called it Pride just now, because that shows, it says a lot right there. You know what I mean? It says more about it than anything else. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Pride was never this weird though.
Yeah.
Dream was this weird.
Yeah.
Pride was still rooted in the best versus the best for the most part. It wasn't until it was brought back from the dead as Dream. That's when you started seeing the Super Hulk tournaments and so on and so forth. But this is this weird, an even weirder mutation than that.
Yeah. I think it's just how depleted the talent pool had become over that decade that they had to be gone, or most of a decade that Sakakibara had to be gone. That now he's just got weird bits and pieces to work with, so it's just we're gonna make it weird as fuck.
Well, I here's the thing. I don't disagree with you guys on the fact that as far as the fact of things being very strange now, but I don't know that this is the strangest of events. I mean, come on, we had Akebono Sap and Baruto, and
from a booking perspective, perhaps not.
Yeah,
it's just that so we'll get to this as we go, because I don't even know if this fight's happening anymore, but the Gabi Garcia thing has really become a sideshow.
Yeah. No two ways about it.
And it was before she missed weight by 26 pounds, and we don't even know if this fight's happening anymore.
26 fucking pounds.
I don't know if you guys saw the backstage fight she had with Shinobu Kandori.
No, I missed this.
That's why I'm saying this might be some pro wrestling ass build up bullshit.
Yeah.
Because Shinobu went back there and was cutting a promo in Japanese. Yeah. That's why I'm I think this was the plan all along.
It really does feel like a pro wrestling angle. Because, missing weight by that much for Gabi Garcia, that is literally just you never had any interest. You never tried to make a weight for this fight.
Right.
And if you never tried to make a weight for the fight, then the probability is that the fight was never going to happen in the first place.
Right. So like seeing this was just like
it's either that or she's Mayhem Miller levels of crazy, and to date she has not seemed Mayhem Miller levels of crazy.
No.
But knowing the players, meaning Shinobu and also Sakakibara, is like this is feeling a lot like this is some New Japan Pro Wrestling, All Japan Pro Wrestling feeling type of stuff. Because like it was had they not posted the video of the quote unquote scrap that they had in the back, I wouldn't have thought anything about it. Yeah. But between the antics from the last fight where she beat up Granny Chan and the antics that they had after that and at press conferences, I was like, all right, it's already, I can see where they're going. And plus, we know that they're trying to build the rivalry essentially between her and Reina. So it's like, all right, this just feels
like if in 2 months Gabi Garcia is in a pro wrestling ring taking on, Shinobu Kandori in some sort of weird work, would you be shocked?
I wouldn't be shocked if she's not on this card, but on the final card, because Reina beat if she beats Dandhua this one, and they're like, oh, well, she's going to come and avenge Granny Chan number 2's. It's like, what is this?
The Granny Chans are like the conquistadors of Japan, because no one really, like, at least for us, because American fans there's no way to tether these folks. I don't think there's any real context to provide American fans that would be satisfactory as to, like, why this fight is even, why they've tried twice now to book this, and why it's failed so spectacularly, and why anyone in Japan really cares. But it's like,
back in her day, mind you, Shinobu Kandori was actually a, world level judo player, but still it's like she's 53.
Yeah, but that's like,
this is like,
I mean, back in her day, what's his name was touring Brazil, teaching judo to the Brazilians.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this is true. My son was out there teaching, teaching the Gracie boys how to like twist fingers and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is a woman who was taking place in that, like, the tournament structure, the one night tournament back when, like, I think Street Fighter 2 hadn't come out yet. Like, this is
it's true.
Like, and this is the kind of thing that I don't get why, like, not just the age and size disparity, but it's like, what is anyone going to gain from this? And I don't think that if anyone is immersed or has an understanding of Japanese media, it's just going to seem more frustrating that this sort of thing is going on.
And that's the thing I was also, I was trying to say on Twitter too, when I was talking, when this kind of all dropped and all that, is that the end result of this is probably going to be something totally weird and stupid looking and lackluster that is like impressively functional in a Japanese market in a way that you just can't translate in any meaningful way.
It's like, if there is one thing that you need to know about Japanese media, spectacle is king. Like, does not matter. Like, I've been twice and like I watch good amount of media, so it's like, and you see that all the time. Like, there are TV shows that the premise is react to spectacle. Like, you have a panel or like multiple panels of celebrities, and all they do is just react to spectacles that people find on the internet and stuff. So it's like,
it's YouTube comments made TV essentially. It's like that, like that viral. What's it called? What's happening now? Or right this minute? That boring ass TV show. It's exactly that. You had a couple of people watch videos. Oh my God, can you believe that? That's a giant bulk of what's popular in Japanese television right now. But
So it's the same way that, like, Bob Sapp could be this like media star in Japan.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. For years and years. But that Gabi Garcia can like latch on to that exact same kind of thing where you're just never gonna quite figure out what the functionality is that makes this all work.
Oh yeah, like just the whole. It's so weird. Like, That's really all that we can say about the whole situation, because it's like, even by Japanese standards, this is still a bit much. Like, you know.
All right. On that note, let's jump into the bottom of this card. And the fight, it almost seems silly to try to like quantify any of this at this point, but a catchweight 165-pound bout between Satoru Kitaoka and Kichi Kunamoto, the recent UFC release. And Vic, what are your thoughts on this?
Strasser Kunamoto, stylish but not polished, so I'm gonna go Kitaoka on this. Somewhat, I guess, probably undersized in this one. A hell of a lot more experience, a lot more shine in his game. Better with his leg kicks, much more polished boxing. Just overall, far better fighter IQ, and not only that, but he's got a hell of a submission game. Kunamoto, too rough around the edges. I don't trust his cardio. He fights ugly. His timing is wobbly. So no, Kitaoka for this one.
Dia?
I'm actually going to go with Kunamoto on this one, because with Kitaoka, you don't know which Kitaoka is showing up. So you either have competent Kitaoka, or you have, I don't know what I'm doing here, I'm staring off into the ether Kitaoka that shows up. And that has happened. Like, there's no way to be like, okay, yeah, we know that this person's going to show up, you know? Like, and it's just, so with this one, even though Kunamoto is very unpolished and unrefined, I think he's just competent enough to, whereas if Kitaoka slips into his, you know, one of his weird, he has weird fight IQ. Like, he just makes dumb decisions sometimes where it's like, I'm not sure why you thought that was a good idea or a good strategy, but that's why you lost. So I'm going to go with Kunamoto on this one. And just because, like, and I don't know if Kitaoka has, you know, fully rebounded from getting just treated like a piñata from Yusuke Yachi. So
can I just add, I'll just add one thing here, one wrinkle here that probably I should have mentioned. First round is 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That favors the grappler pretty heavily. Kitaoka's
yeah.
a better grappler, so I don't know. You still want to stick with that?
Well,
I'll still stick with it.
I'm going to throw this out here. I don't want to be a deciding factor, but I will be here. Kichi Kunamoto is like 4 inches taller and a legit weight class bigger. And if anything, has actually been pretty hard to wrestle and control.
Right. Like, he did decent against like the Neo Magnis of the world when he was in the UFC. He still lost.
Yeah.
But if you can survive that, like, Kitaoka is a legitimate grappler. But it's, like I said, he makes really weird decisions at times. And if I just think, I don't know if Kunamoto did any training within the United States, because if he did and he has the fundamentals that he learned of mixing all the styles together, as opposed to how you train in Japan, style, all separately, for me, it all, you know, just having to had that higher level of competition thus far, coupled to that, would put it over for me. So
Kitaoka did actually start fighting in 2000 too.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's like, he feels like a perennial like prospect, because it's like, oh well, maybe he'll turn the corner. It's like, nah, it's been 16 goddamn years.
Dude, 60 plus fights at this point, you know?
Right.
Paul Daly in 2006.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like, you see,
Yep.
for like with the exception of like a couple people that he's beaten, like when he beat Cruikshanks recently, which, but of course Cruikshank was on the tail end of his career from what we can tell. But like, once he runs up against competition that is competent in any way, shape, or form, loses. So, you know, Jorge Masvidal 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That, you know, Shinya Aoki, Will Brooks. You know, so it's just like, yeah. But no matter what, he's going to be staring off into the crowd, biting air oddly, no matter what happens here. So
we do actually have some odds for this, amazingly. And Kichi Kunamoto is currently favored. He's opened at minus 270, is now at minus 208. And Kitaoka opened, and these odds just opened, so this is very early line movement. Opened at plus 190, is now at plus 161.
Still wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it.
All right, that brings us to a women's flyweight bout. Shizuka Sugiyama versus Kana Watanabe. And Dio?
I got nothing for you on this one. This is like, it's one of those weird things when it comes to like women's JMMA. Yes, WJMMA. Like, you have folks that come from shoot boxing, and you have folks that will, randomly come from whatever sport outside of it will show up, and it's like, it's hard to actually gauge what they can do in mixed martial arts when they've done that, of course. So, yeah, I don't know. That's Vic might have something for you.
All right, but, Vic, help Dio out here.
Well, let's start off with the fact that, pardon me, Watanabe is a world-class judoka who just made her debut in MMA earlier this month, where she won by submission. That's kind of why, if you found it a little suspect that somebody that's 1-0 is going to be fighting someone who's 15-4-1, well, yeah, there's your Japanese equalizer, right? You come in with that high level, it's just what's going to happen. Sugiyama's pretty good with her boxing, especially if she's in close and she can throw in a couple of knees to the body and wear her opponent down. This is still kind of up in the air for me. Even the experience disparity being a thing, it's like, I don't know, man. Watanabe is, I mean, like, Sugiyama's not that good off her back. I got to wonder what's going to happen when world-class judoka grabs a hold of her. I don't think that it's one of those things where she's, going to be able to put Watanabe away early either with her striking. So,
and Watanabe is built like a fucking brick house.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Her conditioning looks really solid, and it's like you're going to be taking on someone who's maybe her endurance isn't necessarily that great. So, like, I don't know what it says about this fight that I'm still really, like, weighing how this would actually play out. Like, smart money, reasoning, and logic would have to go with Sugiyama because of the experience edge and having seen more, but I don't know, man. I don't think it's entirely Watanabe definitely has some chances to win this fight. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to go with Watanabe on this one because of why the fuck not? This whole card, this card is crazy enough. She's that much more of an athlete. And, if you're going to come in with 1-0 in a fight like this and you have a judo base, that's not a terrible place to be. So,
this is true. especially
in an opponent especially in women's MMA and an opponent that doesn't hit super, super hard.
Yeah. Like, if she gets that head and if like Sugiyama tries to lock on the patented, women's MMA head and arm throw, she is going for a ride.
Odds on this: Watanabe is the underdog. Opened at plus 290, is dropped to plus 237. So those odds are closing. And Sugiyama opened at minus 430 and is at minus 316 now. So. It seems like those odds are going to have opened wide on Sugiyama because of experience and are going to close in a hurry because of the judo pedigree.
Right.
Would not be surprised there. Yeah. All right, that brings us to a flyweight bout. Kizumon Saiga versus Kai Asakura. And Vic, what are your thoughts?
I love this fight. Saiga is a super, super cool striker. Very legitimate MMA game despite his 3-3 record. I mean, He's not a pushover. He's durable. Dude can certainly bang. And his ground game is like he's really good at popping back up and defending himself on the ground. Whereas Asakura is coming in with more of a karate background, at least, way in his youth. And he's learned how to sharpen it into a better overall MMA game. He's got pretty nice hands. He's got some great hooks. Really beautiful knees, especially that Road FC fight that he had where he just did that. Landed a gorgeous left knee to the dude's dome and just flattened him. Yeah. I gotta think that Asakura's got some advantages here. He's a little too hittable for my taste, but he doesn't. Again, he's just a sponge. He's able to take those shots and keep walking ahead. Not only that, there's a great fight that he had against Jae-Hoon Moon. I think that was his last fight. Moon, who's also in the tournament, as we'll be talking about him next. And I don't know, man. I like Asakura's. I like his agility. I like his timing and his speed, and it's a much more grounded MMA game. Whereas Saiga is bringing in more of that kickboxing game that's adapted for MMA. The reason I bring that up is because sometimes we've seen this happen when guys who come in from like boxing or stuff like that. It's like it takes a bit of a while, like when you're shifting between one sport and the other, for you to be able to get the mindset ready and everything else. So I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be able to account for all that. So I'm going to have to go with Asakura here.
Dia?
I'm also going with Asakura on this one. With gosh, I just had this shit open. with Saiga, he got a bit of a raw deal when he came in on the last RIZIN card, and he fought so let's see, the two people that he's lost, three people he's lost 3 times, and he's got lost against people that are really high level at what they do. He lost to Hideo Tokoro. Even though Hideo Tokoro is 32, 28, and 2, he is still one of the most ridiculous submission threats in mixed martial arts. Lost there. Lost to Erison Yamamoto. You're going to lose against, like, if your wrestling isn't top notch, you're going to end up losing to somebody who's wrestling that comes from that kind of a pedigree.
Yeah.
You know, and then he fought legitimately one of the best strikers in any sport, you know, in Tenshin Nasukawa at the last event, and just got stretched. So like it's hard to see what he has to offer since he's been given such a tough road going into it. But from what I've seen from Asakura, he does seem to be a bit more polished. He does have, of course, he's got more experience going on, and he's had, you know, that slow growth that you kind of need to have as a fighter. So I'm gonna go with Asakura on this one, just because, like, and in Japanese mixed martial arts, like, they have a habit of just throwing people to the wolves, you know, and
they love looking at what your technical level should be, irrespective of your experience.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Yeah, absolutely.
That is the Japanese matchmaking philosophy. It's like, well, how many accolades do you come in with? What accolades do you come in with? Or did you get a big win that seemed like it should be above your level? Well, that means that you're now at this level. You know, if you beat a tough guy at some point in the past, you only fight tough guys now. That's all you do.
Yeah. Which is bad for your health.
Yeah. Brings us now to a bantamweight bout, the first Bantamweight Grand Prix tournament bout, reserve bout, Anthony Burchak versus Jae-Hoon Moon. And Dio, what do you think? Anthony Burchak's first fight out of the UFC since... he's fought twice outside the UFC.
He's fought twice on RIZIN cards. And that was one of those weird ones where he got fired off of a win, you know.
Yep.
But
he walked from it. He let his contract expire. He thought he was going to get a new contract, and it just never came.
Yeah. So, and, you know, of course, they put him up against Kawajiri, and thing was a little bit above his head. But in this one, I do think he is just competent enough to take out Jae-Hoon Moon. Moon is fun to watch. Not a bit hittable. He's very hittable in some instances in the fight. So striking's decent. Last time we saw him was against Kevin Petchy at the last RIZIN event in July, or not July, but October. Sorry. But yeah, like I'm gonna go with Burchak on this one. Also has fought better competition coming up the ranks and so on. So yeah.
All right, Vic, what are your thoughts? You picking Burchak to get his first RIZIN win as well, or RIZIN win? I always want to say RIZIN. It's supposed to be literally RIZIN.
I say RIZIN.
Oh, is it? I thought it was RIZIN this whole time. I had no idea.
I just call it Raisin.
Raisin. There you go. Japanese raisins.
Like reason, like it's like pride is risen. Like it's risen from the ashes.
More like a work in progress where it's still rising. Oh, why are we still doing this? Okay, look.
Why are we still doing this?
What the fuck is going on? This is why we're so good at this nitpicking.
Yeah.
You know what, man? Moon has been unfortunately on the wrong side of a few decision losses in recent years. Not so much like. And some of these fights were super, super close. Like some of them were unanimous decision losses and all that, but he acquitted himself well. But he's struggling against a certain caliber fighter, and he's obviously with it. Basically, no, none of them have been robberies exactly. But it's still, at a 10-10 record against some of the guys that he's fought. And this is not to disparage him, but Burch has just fought and beaten far better opposition. And not only that, his game, his pressure, his wrestling, his jiu-jitsu is far better suited for something like this. Moon might have a bit of a striking advantage. I don't say this because his timing is a little crafty. He likes to loop in some weird hooks here and there. Uses his uppercut a little more frequently than most guys do. Might be able to surprise him with something there. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I kind of like that hard-nosed approach from Burch. And besides, I mean, beating guys like Joe Soto and Ryan Benoit, that kind of outdoes, and then you throw in a guy like a Matt Leyva and Roman Salazar, not superstars right now, but definitely guys that have been on the international circuit and done some shit.
Right.
I kind of have to put them in there against some of the dudes that Moon was beating up in China and all that, like places that have more fighters that have had far less development and come from less stable scenes and skill sets. So yeah, even though Moon does have that win over Asakura, it's like maybe he just caught that guy at the right time, but no, this is not. I gotta go with Burch here.
All right. Odds on that fight. Anthony Burchak opened at 405 and is now out at 452. Minus 405, now at minus 452. Jae-Hoon Moon opened it plus 285, now at plus 321. So pretty wide there on Jae-Hoon Moon. Yeah, frankly.
I mean, it's of course, you have a lot of folks that are just going to look at, he was in the UFC automatically. He's better, so,
Oh, I think I skipped the Kai Asakura Kizman Saiga odds. Asakura is opened at minus 135, is now minus 155. Saiga opened at minus 105, is now at plus 120.
Okay.
So, Saiga, the slight underdog there. And that brings us to what the hell is this? Featherweight bout. Hiroyuki Takaya, the street fight Bancho. Now the street fight 40-year-old Bancho versus Batarin Azhavklan.
Mongolian names are
Vic, who the hell is this Batarin dude? Or Batarin?
I wish I could tell you. I have no fuck. There is no video of this guy. He's like Charlie from Charlie's Angels. I'm not sure he even exists. Like that guy in the photo. That guy in the photo could very easily be like some chef somewhere out of from Ulaanbaatar. They just put him in the thing and said like, yeah, listen, just don't worry about it. You're kind of buff. We'll put you as the poster boy. I have no idea, but I'm not gonna pick a 2-2 guy to beat Street Fight Bancho with a 22-14 record. You have lost your motherfucking mind in real life. No, Mongolia guy, take a back seat.
Yep. I couldn't have said it better. Couldn't have said it better because
what the fuck else am I gonna like?
This is what I on this. Like, if Vic can't find video on the person,
my guy,
it's like his. I don't know if he actually fought any of these people that he has on his record. So, like, even though
it's really like this is a weird one because usually I would assume some dude like Batarin Azhavklan from Mongolia? Yeah, from Mongolia. Like, dude must be some sort of like wrestling magician or furious kickboxing talent. Maybe he is. Maybe we just don't fucking know because he's from Mongolia, and how the hell am I gonna know? Right. But like usually, if you see a dude from some random country in a Pride fight, in a RIZIN fight, or in some other big JMMA card, it's because they're like some obscure talent.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this if that video is not out there, if those facts aren't out, if like that fact isn't out there, then it's just like what the fuck.
And he's fighting for deep. I mean, this is a Korean organization that puts their events, at least now recently, on YouTube for everybody to see. And if you can't find that, like, my guy, what is this shit? What are we doing?
Right. And like there's two. So when it comes to JMMA, you have one of two ways that this happens. Either he is like a diamond in the rough, or he's just being brought in to get his ass whooped. And being that Takaya is later in the stages of his career, you know, he had a really I think it was a nice stoppage in his last fight that he had against Hatsu Hiyoki. It still amazes me to this day that folks used to be like, Hatsu Hiyoki, that's the guy that's going to beat Jose Aldo. But yeah, like, you know, he had a bit of a skid before that. So, you know, he harkens back to the days of Pride and Dream, you know, when he would just go out there and just rock dudes' domes. So, like, this for me, being that there's no footage of this person, like this feels like one of those instances where they started calling gyms outside of Japan and were like, let's see if we can get the cheapest person possible to get knocked the fuck out. So
yeah, it does seem a bit that way. So odds on the fight are reflecting that at the moment. Badarin is coming in he opened at plus 425, he's now plus 429. And Takaya is opened at minus 700 and is now minus 643. And the idea of a 40-year-old Hiroyuki Takaya who's lost 3 straight opening at minus 700 over somebody
tells you exactly where they.
I don't give a fuck. No, I'm not going against Street Fight Bancho. Fuck out of here. No.
That brings us to a women's lightweight bout: Reina Miura versus Cindy Dandhua.
Yes.
And
wait, and this is actually a tough one.
Yes,
because like this is, you know, probably like the first legit matchup on the goddamn card.
Yes,
and the first legit matchup of Reina Miura's MMA career.
Right, like because you know she's fought, like if you look at her record, she's fought Shayna Baszler, but like that fight.
Hold up, you're talking about 2017 Shayna Baszler.
That's what I'm saying. So it was 2017, or was it 2017 or 2016?
It was Reina fought like 6 times this fucking year.
This is her 7th fight this year, guys.
Yeah, right. So 2017 Shayna Baszler. Also,
she fought check cashing Shayna Baszler.
Exactly.
I'm going to pro wrestling.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what it is. So because like if you watch that fight, it's not when I first saw that fight, I was like, that's a bit iffy because, you know, Baszler really was not trying to do anything. She was in there trying to get them checks so that she can get to a wrestling school. But with this one, like the thing is, she is a legitimate grappler. Like Miura is a legit grappler and is stronger than she looks for her build and size.
Yeah.
Dandhua also is one of those people that like might look goofy as hell with whatever costume she comes in the ring with, but is a legitimate threat on the ground for anybody if she can get her hands on them. That being said, because let's see, so Dandhua has been training with Misha Tate for the past few years, so her striking has gotten better over the years. Because there was a point where she would just zombie walk.
It's still so bad. I mean,
it's still bad
with Alexis Davis.
Right. Like we'll just zombie walk forward. 1995 Hoist Gracie style.
She got the head way back like this. I don't have the ponytail, but like I got the ponytail coming back here. Yeah. And then you got like the
Exactly. So like as far as grappling goes, I'm gonna put them on a pretty even playing field on here. Like when it comes to if it goes to the ground. Now for me, it comes to the striking. And Reina, the shit's not polished at all. It's light years ahead of Cindy Dandhua's, and she throws heat. When she was going in that fight against Jazzy Gabbert, they went the fuck at it, and like that's when I was like, okay, now this is going to end up being something. So I'm gonna go with Miura on this one. It's going to be like this is going to tell us a lot of what we need to know about her as far as her grappling, because she hasn't really been tested against other grapplers before, because her record's been fucking just. So you had after Baszler, you had a pro wrestler, then you had another person that was 1-0, you had another pro wrestler, and then like you had just like random people that they've gotten from gyms from across the world.
You delete Baszler from her record, and her opponent's record at the time of contest is 2-1.
Right.
For 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 opponents. 2-1 combined record.
Combined records, exactly. So it's like we know nothing. She's looked good in these fights outside of the Baszler fight, because I said that one was iffy looking. But like
you're taking her. You're riding the hype train.
I'm riding the hype train. I am riding the hype train of King Reina.
All right, Vic, are you also riding the hype train?
I'm willing to fight Dio for the conductor spot on that motherfucking train. Toot toot, we are out here. Let me tell you something about this. Miura, okay, I think we've talked about like how the fact that she's won all these fights and all that, but you look at the fact that she's fighting people like Jazzy Gabbard, Kristen Handel, Crystal Stokes. These women are all almost, or if not, they're over 6 feet tall. Right, yeah. She's fighting women that are close to 50, 60, or even 70 pounds heavier than her. And she's still going out there cracking them with overhand rights and doing serious damage. That Stokes fight, I mean, there were I want to say maybe 3 really, really great punches. She did some terrible damage. And her leg kicks, because the thing with we got to look at Miura is that her frame, I mean, and no disrespect to her, but, I can't think of a better way to put it just now, but for better or worse, it is a doughy frame. Okay, she's not cutting weight. She's not like ripped or anything like that. She just has like a lot of really serious mass, and she knows how to use it. She stands somewhat flat-footed. She puts a lot of weight on her strikes. Her leg kicks are good. Her punches got some snap. It's not very pretty, but you see the progression, even in only a year. You look at the fight with Baszler, and then you look at the fight with Gabbert, and then you look at that fight with Stokes. You go, okay, you know what? She's picking up a lot in a very little period, a very small period of time in the sport. And she's making a lot of things work with it. And not only that, she's got her judo base to work with. Her mobility on the ground is pretty good. The fact that she was able to take down Gabbert repeatedly after a while and just keep pounding on her and eventually make her look like an absolute amateur. And I mean, not to say that Gabbert was, a world beater, but she really was, past her professional wrestling experience and her toughness, she was not very technical and not a complete fighter. So taking that out of this whole thing, and you look at Dandhua, who, okay, everybody's been making fun of her striking, whatever. But we've said this, I know I've said this for sure. I haven't always looked at her as a mixed martial artist. I've looked at her as a really, really good grappler who does mixed martial arts. And you can't mess with that. You look at the way that she submitted Megan Anderson. You look at the way that she's controlled other opponents on the ground and the way that she's been able to shift from one point to the next. She's pretty crafty and, absolutely underrated when it comes to her ground game. The Jessamine Duke submission was another one that just like, I don't know. You can't deny the fact that she has a lot of talent when it comes to that. But it's just, number one, finding a degree of consistency with her schedule and with, getting her striking on par with everything else. And it hasn't worked. I'm seeing Miura cracking her on the feet, standing, some fun scrambles on the ground, but then eventually Miura just working her way to a victory. Nothing but respect for my president, Reina Miura, 2018, bitch.
Yeah. You all are fucking crazy.
So that's the thing. Dandhua she's one of those last holdovers from a previous generation.
Yeah, and she's fighting really somebody that is like absolutely primed to get taken out by a holdover with like one skill set only.
But that's the thing. Like Dandhua has done that multiple times, so I would not be surprised whatsoever if she does pull off a submission victory against the Lot. We're not saying that it's a foregone conclusion at all. Like Dandhua is.
I think you're crazy for even saying it could happen. Like, I get it. I mean, I'm not saying that Dandhua is unbeatable. She's very obviously beatable. She's very obviously incredibly limited. Right. But you're talking about a woman who beat Megan Anderson, Jarena Bars, and Marlos Conan, for fuck's sake. And you're saying this woman who won a iffy decision over fucking...
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the giant Cuban chef's lollipop that she gets after every match.
In 2017.
Maybe it's the crown. Maybe it's the teddy bears. I don't know what it is. But I see, like...
I get it.
If Miura cracks Dandhua, it's going to be...
Sure.
Going downhill real quick.
I don't see Dandhua taking the fight to the ground on her terms, but with her takedown game, I mean, it's not great, but it's not horrible.
Pretty solid. Like, that's pretty one thing that's surprising.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. But
falls on people and then like hit the foot sweep. That's the Cindy Dandhua trick. Is you look awkward as hell and you just kind of throw your arms at people and then you fall on them. And at the process of falling on them, she just hits a little tiny foot sweep at like the end of it, and then people are suddenly on their back. And
I don't know, man. I see Miura surviving.
Miura is also like her takedowns are actually pretty damn. From what we've seen, of course, from what we've seen against the people,
the canniest of cans against some like.
I'm sorry, I'm still going with it.
I know.
I don't care.
The David and Goliath thing takes you very far, unfortunately, with us.
Yes, it does. And she is like a small bear as far as how strong she is.
Dandhua opened at -170, is currently at -141. Miura opened at +130, is now at +106. So those odds are trending towards even, and I would not be surprised to see Miura favored by fight time because of marks like y'all.
Catchweight. Yeah. So this is a catchweight bout too, right?
Yeah. Is it? This is listed as a women's lightweight. 155. But
so
that could mean anything.
Yeah. Wikipedia says catchweight bout 165 pounds.
They probably you know what?
No, I'm still seeing it at 150 at 70 kilograms. On Wiki.
Probably walk around at that weight anyway, both of them.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Not important. Now light heavyweight bout. Yuri Prochazka, Carl Albertson. And Vic, who you taking?
I like this. I really like this. We've seen these guys before in RIZIN, whatever you want to call it. And both of these guys, very legitimate talents that unfortunately American fans may not be very familiar with. Prochazka got a pretty solid boxing game. His kicking game is pretty decent as well. His ground game is coming together. Whereas Albertson is another sort of rangy guy who's very, very his grappling is much more the crafty variety. You know what I mean? He's more got more of a chain submission thing going on than anything else. I'm going to go with Albertson here. I don't think he's necessarily the better athlete, but I think he's definitely got the ability to take more damage down the line, stay out of certain trouble spots with his grappling. And not only that, but just eventually, just as the fight goes on, keep his composure and be able to win. I mean, you look at his wins against guys like Vadim Nemkov and Theodoros Akstuolis earlier this year in July. And I don't know, man. I gotta side with that. Whereas Prochazka has shown that he is not only hittable, but that knockout loss that he had to Muhammad Lawal in the 15 Grand Prix. I mean, it is King Mo who has very underrated hands.
Anyone that Carl Albertson has fought.
Unfortunately, that is the case. And not only that, you look at the fights that he had afterwards against William Alves and Kazuyuki Fujita. It's like I don't know, man. I don't know. Like that's not to say that he couldn't have improved since between one fight and the next, but it just seems that the sort of pedigree and the trajectory thing. I got to go with Albertson on this one.
All right, Dia.
I gotta agree on that one too. Like we saw his limit in the King Mo fight, because like it's one thing where if you lose and then you work your way back up, right? You lose, then you take another fight where that's a little bit more on your level, and then you continue to rise back up. He didn't have that. Like he went from King Mo to fighting old Ironhead, who is 97 years old and punch drunk like a motherfucker at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, I can't, just off like strength of schedule. And as Vic said, like, Albertson can keep his composure better. And we've seen how, you know, Prochazka, I don't know how to say his name. Prochazka, there you go.
You're welcome.
He reacts under pressure. And yeah, so I'm sticking with what Vic said.
I got to go with Prochazka here. I think he's one of the absolute best athletes in the world at light heavyweight. He's undertrained and has continued to be undertrained, but the dude is a powerhouse.
Oh, he's no doubt that he's a powerhouse. It's just the thought process.
Look, if these guys fight 2 years from now, then I'm definitely picking Prochazka, but not right now.
Yeah, not right now.
Well, I mean,
that's just me. I don't know.
That's the thing, though, is that Carl Albertson's only 24 too. I mean, he's a baby. They're both babies in this sport. Carl Albertson even more so.
Even though Prochazka has 20, so at this point 23 fights.
Yeah.
Like, to say that he's a baby in the sport is a bit much at this point.
Well, no, but mileage count as far as like his age and all. No, I know what he means. Yeah, I mean,
he started fighting. He started fighting in 2012, and he's taken like 5 fights a year every year since then.
Right.
So I'm not saying like, he's 5 years in. He's at the point where he should be starting to hit his stride in the prime of his career.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see it. Albertson has tended towards inactivity in a lot of his bouts and betting on being crafty and stuff like that, and I don't trust it, so I can't pick him. I'm also I'm seeing on his Tapology card that he spends time training at CSW with Eric Paulson.
Right. Yeah,
and I respect the shit out of Eric Paulson, but not that many really good fighters seem to come through those ranks.
They've hit a definite skid in the last few years. I'm not. Yeah, I agree with that part.
I don't know that they prepare guys very well for MMA fights in general. Like Josh Barnett is pretty great, and then I don't know who else other than Albertson has had a lot of success out of there.
Those guys usually split a lot of the training too.
Over the training of the 4 horsewomen, none of them do MMA anymore. Like that's how that went.
But they split. But they did their striking. Most of them did their striking training with Edmund Tarverdian too.
Which
Barnett has his own boxing coach separate from CSW, unless I'm mistaken. So like I'm.
But I mean, they went from Edmund to CSW to do more work, and it was just.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you're
like
right.
It didn't help at all.
Mm.
So I'm just a little worried about that. All right. Brings us the odds on that fight. It should be a hell of a fun. Like it is the two of the most legit athletes at light heavyweight in the world as far as young prospects go. So it should be a fun fight. Prochazka is the slight favorite, opening at -195, currently -193. Albertson opening at +155, now at +152. That brings us to that brings us to a women's open weight bout, maybe. Missed weight by 26 pounds. It's an open weight fight. I don't know how the fuck you miss weight for an open weight.
That's what I don't fucking get. Oh my god.
This is what we're talking about. This is why it seems so fucking fishy. Because it's an open weight, so it's an open weight bout, but you miss weight for an open weight bout. Then you have the antics that happen backstage after it, and the antics that happen after the last time Gabi Garcia beat up a Japanese pro wrestling grandma. Like this it's probably going to happen.
Sakakibara has said right after the weigh-ins, this fight's canceled. We can't put it on. They have not. There's been no more. Like that is a very official announcement, but that's also kind of like Dana White telling everybody that Jeremy Stevens was absolutely fighting tonight when he was sitting in a jail in Iowa.
Yeah. Good God.
I don't understand this.
I can't remember where he was in jail. Where I think it was Iowa, but you know, we don't know until like it becomes time. We could easily see Garcia walking down the ramp at Pride tomorrow.
I've got my money on that happening. I have my money on that happening.
You know what? I just hope it goes on, and I mean, like, I really don't see if it's an open weight fight. Again, how you gonna cut me off with the, you know, with the sweet and sour chicken if the buffet line says all you can eat? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is so? Which is an apt thing to say now, right? Because obviously, weight, haha, funny. But you know what the fuck I mean? Like, if it's an open weight fight, why is this being made such a big thing? The only thing I saw was Sakakibara had allegedly said that it would be unsportsmanlike for this to continue due to the disparity. Motherfucker, there was already a disparity. There's already a size and youth and athleticism advantage, and of course, they're already, you know, one person is definitely much larger than the other. Walking in, you knew this. Last year, when you tried to set this fight up, you fucking knew this. What is so different about this happening now? 27 pounds over, oh my, but it's an open weight, or is it not? Or does open weight mean something else in Japan? What am I missing here?
Right.
Yeah, we don't know.
Get it. So look, whatever. I hope it happens. Gabi Garcia, whatever. I don't. Just
and here's the fucking like so that people understand the disparity. So, Kondori is 5'7", last weighed in at 162 pounds.
Yep.
But that was probably the year 2000 was the last time she weighed in.
Yeah.
And fucking Gabi Garcia fluctuates between, this is at weigh-in times, between 209 pounds up to 240 some odd pounds.
In the same year. This
in
is
the same year.
Like she used to fight at one and then fights the other. She will fight.
This is after weight cuts. So it's not outside of the realm of reasoning that she probably walks around at about 260.
Yeah.
She is a whole atom weight larger than this small Japanese woman.
Has not fought in 17 years, by the way. I believe.
Right. This is quite possibly one of the most egregious things that I have seen ever. And we saw Emmanuel Yarborough versus whatever the hell the guy's name was when he was. But like, this is ridiculous.
We saw Michelle Watterson take that 50-year-old Japanese grandma to the woodshed over in Invicta.
Jesus Christ. It was so bad. Like, like this is like, you knew what this was. Like, this is why I'm saying this had to be the plan the whole time.
Yep.
And especially when you bring in the fact that there's so many, you have a pro wrestler, right?
Yep.
And in the last fight, you legitimately had the Japanese pro wrestling grandmother running the ropes before the fight started. After that, Kondori got up in the ring and started cutting a promo. Then fast forward to now, after the weigh-ins happen, they go run backstage on some very New Japan Pro Wrestling shit with the shaky camera, filming to see Kondori cutting another promo on Gabi Garcia. This shit is going to happen. If it doesn't happen on the 29th, it is going to happen on the 31st. They are building this shit up in the most pro wrestling ways possible. And I hate them.
The heat is so canned, it has an expiration date.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good line. I can work with that.
Yeah. It's funny because it's true.
So, all right. On that note.
Either way, Reina Miura is going to beat the fuck out of her.
On that note, one book is taking odds on Garcia versus Kondori. Garcia is currently minus 2,000 to Kondori plus 800. So. Yeah, that's about all you need to know.
1,000. When's the last time we saw something like that?
Yeah, it's usually for cyborg fights. It's usually
millennia. Like,
I mean, like maybe Cody McKenzie fighting somebody. Why?
Oh. All right, let's get into the tournament now. The rest of the tournament, the rest of the Bantamweight Grand Prix, the quarterfinals, and first quarterfinal, Khalid Taha versus Takafumi Otsuka. And Vic, what are your thoughts?
Ooh, Taha coming out of the German scene, got really solid kickboxing, very heavy on his lead leg too. very, very versatile athlete, very strong. He's got a lot of physical talents that he's able to use. But Otsuka, you know, Otsuka has not only got the better record, he's just been, you know, fighting guys that, you know, with far more varied skill sets. Even the Mongolian guy that we couldn't even identify earlier. Hey, maybe I should call Otsuka. Maybe you can tell me what the fuck is going to happen. How about that? I don't know. But Otsuka's got a much more complete game, even though he is an older fighter. And I don't know, man. I mean, it just seems to me like he's a little too hittable, and Taha might be able to crack him. I just don't know if he's going to be able to crack him hard enough to actually put him away. So I'm kind of seeing Taha by decision. I mean, I want to pick Otsuka really badly because, like, my brain's saying, okay, clearly this guy has much more development and everything like that. But I think this is one of those cases where the physicality and just the raw athleticism and knowing where to time things correctly is going to be just enough for him to get by. So I'm going to go with Taha on this.
Dia?
I'm going to go with Otsuka off of craftiness.
Yeah.
Like, it is like Taha has, you know, he's very strong. He's younger. You know, has the athleticism on his side, but just strength of record and experience here are going to come into effect unless he gets Otsuka out of there, you know, early. If this goes into, you know, once it goes into round 2 and 3, this is going to be where you'll see that experience will come in, because when you fought, you know, Germany is not as like, it's not as bad as say some of the other regional scenes are.
It's not the Czech Republic. It's not like Serbia. Right. It's not some of those countries, but it's more like Austria or Belgium or France. Like you have like a reasonable amount of competition, just not a ton of it.
Exactly. Right. But it's not low end of the barrel like some of them where, you know, a guy will burst onto the international scene and already has 37 fights, all finishes. Against people. Right.
The MMA that's there tends to be competitive, out of good gyms, producing solid fighters.
Exactly. Yeah, the foundation is at a higher point than in modern.
Right, exactly. So he has that, but at the same time, he still has not faced that level of competition, high level competition yet. Like his first time fighting, it looks like the first time that he fought outside of his regional cards was on a RIZIN card. You know, earlier this year. And so I got to go with Otsuka on this one. Wouldn't be surprised if it does go the other way because he, like Vic said, he is very hittable. You know, he's got some city miles on him because he's been doing this shit since, that's a long record, since 2006 and had multiple skids of losses in that time. But I think here, like he seems to have hit his stride at this point where everything's starting to click and come together for him. So I'm going with Otsuka on this one.
Odds have this fight just about dead even. Otsuka opened at +110, is now -101. Taha opened at -150, is now -135. That brings us to the second bantamweight fight, Kevin Petchy versus Shintaro Ishiwatari. And Dio? Yeah.
Yep. So we saw Anthony Petchy last fight in October on the card against Ji-Hoon Moon that we talked about that's lower on this current card. You know, looked pretty good. It's kind of like that same issue that we have a lot with regional fighters in Europe, where it's like you can kind of looks good for a long period of time. And then once they start to mix it up with actual competition, it fluctuates a bit. And with Ishiwatari, you don't have the same type of thing happening. Like he has, you know, wins over legitimate people. You know, people might not think too much of Jonathan Brookins, but Brookins is a pretty serious talent, you know, when you think about how, you know, the things that he has been able to accomplish in his time. So he also has wins over who we just talked about, Takafumi Otsuka, and a few other people. So I'm gonna go with Ishiwatari on this one. Even if he does win, he's not gonna win by the time they get to the top of the tournament because, you know, he's already lost to the person that they're there to fight. So, you know.
All right, Dio.
Vic.
He just,
Vic.
That's okay.
Whatever. The other one.
I can't tell ethnics apart.
Right.
Okay. Pecci is actually a pretty decent kickboxer, and you know, he's more than that. He's not as limited as some of the guys that we've seen. I mean, much like we were just talking about Taha, right? I mean, Zane, you mentioned how the French scene, you know, fighters are coming up as well from a better foundation, and Pecci is evidence of that. He's got some pretty decent wins. His losses have been against pretty decent guys too. Rob Whiteford and Paddy Pimblett stand out. I'm not entirely sure that, I mean, his game isn't really complete to me. I think it's a little rough around the edges. And I think that a guy like Ishiwatari has the timing down a little better. He's probably going to be a little faster. He's going to have a better sort of in and out game to mix up his strikes and sort of make sure that that damage adds up over time until he can get the fight to the ground where he wants it. And then once that happens, Pecci's going to be at something of a disadvantage. Ishiwatari is 1-1 against Jonathan Brookins, but he went on that crazy little streak there. I mean, he's got, let me see, 5 wins in a row, including wins over Victor Henry, promising prospect, and Rafael Silva and Pancrase. That's really nothing to scoff at. And I mean, among the people that he's lost to, Kyoji Horiguchi and Chen Sung-young, I mean, that's pretty good. He had that draw against Omigawa way back in the day. He had that win against Kawa Uno in 2012 when Uno was still cranking out some quality fights. So it seems to me, you know, again, I know it sounds like we're venturing off into the MMA math territory, but it really seems like has more of the components to get a full fight in and really capitalize with his experience over someone like Pecci.
All right, so you're both picking Ishiwatari. He's the favorite. Opened at -215, is now at -288. Pecci opened at +165, is now +211. So it's out to getting wider pretty quickly. That brings us to our co-main event and our third Bantamweight Grand Prix quarterfinal bout. Ian McCall, Manel Kape, and Vic. Who you got?
I just want to mention that how brutal this kind of matchmaking really is. I mean, you got a guy like Ian McCall that had something like 5 or 6 canceled fights due to multiple injuries and the fact that he was getting brain scans done to calculate, see what kind of damage he's really had over his career, destroying himself to get to 125 as well, and how that's added up. I mean, now he won't have to cut to that kind of weight. He's got a 10-pound window there of leeway, but he's going to be facing the hardest hitting, most athletic, just a guy who's actually really technical too with his striking. I don't really like the way this whole thing, like it's just very, very ugly from an optics, you know, position. It just doesn't really work for me. And that's really, it's kind of taking some of the fun out of it for me, because it really is a compelling fight, but you look at the human side of it, and it really does bother me quite a bit that this is taking place. Kape is only 7-1, but you look at that last fight that he had against Ersin Yamamoto. It was a very quick fight. We didn't get to see too much out of it, but at the same time, we do see that he likes fucking with his opponent's head, and it seems like that was something that took place already. The weigh-ins with a little swat at the head, and Ian McCall punching him back or slapping him, whatever it was. I don't like Kape's kickboxing and takedown defense here, and I just don't know what we're going to see from an Ian McCall that hasn't fought in over 2 years and has had these all these things add up with his injuries, and where his mind is going to be. Is he going to be gun shy because he doesn't want to get countered and put out? I want to pick Ian McCall on this one. I love the guy to death. He's one of my favorite flyweights ever, but I got to go with Kape on this one.
All right. Dio, are you riding that Kape hype train?
It's not even a hype train. Like, it's just simple mathematics on this one. Like Vic said, this man Manel Kape is a athletic monster. You know, he might not be the most technical. If you look at the two fighters from a technical point of view, Ian McCall wins that hands down. No two ways about it. But like after he has had, let's see. Ian McCall had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 canceled bouts in the UFC.
Yep.
Due to, you know, various reasons. Either he got injured, or somebody had weight cut issues, or somebody withdrew, you know, as Vic said. Also brain scans after getting his bell just lit the fuck up against John Lineker. And like he has been out of competition since January of 2015. So you go from getting, having John Lineker use your head as a heavy bag to all of these canceled bouts, to now fighting another athletic monster who is a very crisp striker. I can't, like, that image in my head of Mano Okabe knocking out Ersin Yamamoto and then panning over to Ersin Yamamoto's mom is like, that was some haunting type stuff. And like, we saw the antics and all the stuff that happened at the weigh-ins here, but it's hard to pick McCall here. Like, that's, of course his layoff wasn't all his own fault, but like that kind of a layoff, after getting, and not just that. So he had a bunch of canceled bouts before that too. So it's like, the inactivity here.
His career has been riddled by injuries, but I would say that, like, the Lineker fight, he was doing really, like, he was probably beating Lineker.
Oh yeah,
up until the point that Lineker put the squeeze on him with the jumped down a guillotine.
Yeah,
and then all the heart just kind of drained out of him, and he just
he was a step behind all the right after that. Yeah,
right. Yeah, and that's it. Like I was saying, like he was winning that bout, but still he took. Yeah, as you like between the strikes and then that guillotine, like where you see points in certain fights and in certain people's career where it just kind of changes them. And that was a fight that changed.
Don't know after that. Like we have never seen him fight again, so we have no idea.
Yeah.
I got to take McCall here just because, as athletic as Cape can be, McCall at his best hangs with Demetrius Johnson athletically.
True. So, well, at his best, that draw, I'd like to think that he won that fight personally.
Yeah. So,
but that was ages ago.
To be able to get this done, especially if he can go out and be wrestler Ian McCall, because as a wrestler, he's really, really incredibly good.
Right.
But if he gets stung early, that's just going to be kind of sad for a dude who's had to wait this long to get back in the cage.
Yeah, and then to have the antics that they had, getting smacked upside the head at the weigh-ins is
Yeah.
McCall is currently sitting as the favorite. Opened at -300, is currently sitting -277. Cape at +220. Opened at +220, is now +201. And that brings us to our main event: Kyoji Horiguchi, Gabriel Oliveira, and Dio. Any hope for Oliveira here?
I mean, there is some hope. There's always hope. When you are as athletic as he is, like there is always the striker's chance. If y'all didn't see it, boy, he sent Tatsuya Kawajiri to the land of wind and ghost.
Yeah, he did.
Jesus. But Horiguchi is like magnitudes faster and hits harder than probably anybody that Oliveira has faced thus far, and is really technical. Like he can get and like below 155 pounds. Horiguchi, there's only one other person that's as fast or faster than him, and that's Dimitri, or flat out faster, and that's Demetrius Johnson. Like there's only one other person that can match that, and like we're gonna see Horiguchi at range, dart in and out, and just pick him apart the whole fight. Could he catch him with something? Sure, but I just don't. Horiguchi is smarter than. He's smart enough to not shoot in for a fucking takedown from across the ring to get zapped like Kawajiri did. So,
yeah.
All right. Odds on that fight. Oh, wait, no, Vic.
I was wondering. I'm like, oh, shit. I can skip it if you don't want. Yeah. I'm going to keep this short. Oliveira's got more. He tends to fall more into that Muay Thai stance, and I think Horiguchi's mobility is definitely going to catch up to him on that. Not only that, his movement, his ability to capitalize with leg kicks to sort of mix things up. And then, obviously, the ground game, which, Oliveira's got decent takedown defense and good ground defense as well. But I got to go with Horiguchi here, not just because of the experience, but he's just the far faster, craftier athlete. He's got more avenues to win, and his striking seems much more accurate as well.
Horiguchi is the favorite, opened at -505, is currently -519. Oliveira opened at +335, is currently at +359. All right, that moves us to our second fight card. Now we're gonna buzz through this one as best we can.
Yeah.
So Grand Prix semifinals. Let's see. You know what? I'm actually just gonna skip the turn. I wanted to do this whole tournament setup, but we've picked, different fighters. We all know that Kyoji Horiguchi is the big favorite to win.
Yeah.
I would expect, like, I think the expectation is going to be that he faces Ian McCall, but if McCall does not win, then you're probably seeing Horiguchi Kape in the final.
Probably.
Since he seems just like the other athlete where, if he's facing Pechi or Taha, then it's athletic kickboxers where he's going to have the edge. And if he's facing Ishiwatari or Otsuka, then it's just going to be a big athletic edge.
Right.
So that's it. Otherwise, we've got a flyweight kickboxing bout, Mitsuhisa Tsunabe versus Yamato Fujita. Do you guys...
Hold up, what?
There's two kickboxing. There's two kickboxing matches.
Kickboxing bouts. Do either of you care ensure about either of them?
I don't care about this one at all because that's not the kickboxing bout that anybody's coming for.
Tenshin Nasukawa versus Yuta Hamamoto is the kickboxing bout that
young violence god. Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, the Fujita fight I'm interested because Fujita is actually far more exciting than I expected him to be. So I'll give him that. I mean, they should be fun kickboxing matches. I just don't feel comfortable. I'm not experienced enough with that to be like, I'll make a pick. But they're fun.
Out there is expecting Tenshin Nasukawa to go through this tournament and get a big ass fancy trophy at the end of it all.
Yeah.
That's what's being set up. That's why it's one of the 3 headlining bouts is to get Nasukawa a fancy RIZIN trophy. All right. Super atomweight fight: Maria Oliveira, Kana Asakura. And Vic, any thoughts?
Yeah, I like Asakura's chances here, man. She's a far better wrestler. Oliveira, sturdy, she's a pretty good striker, slow starter, but she kind of starts adding things up. Very patient with her counter striking, but Asakura's not really going to be doing that much striking. I think it's going to be a lot more control, a lot more striking on the ground. It's going to be a bit of a slog and just making Oliveira carry that weight consistently throughout the fight. I mean, Oliveira is pretty good, but only if she's got a considerable size and weight advantage on her opponent. That's when she really has like that pronounced advantage. So I got to go with Asakura here. I think she's definitely got the strength and athleticism and technique to keep her where she wants.
Yep.
Dia?
Got to go with Asakura as well. She is athletic and strong enough to Velcro the shit out of Oliveira for the whole fight. And there won't be a goddamn thing Oliveira can do about it. So...
All right.
As Vic said, if she doesn't have that size and weight advantage, she just can't,
So I'm not exactly sure why I'm asking here, but up next, Dio, Reina Kubota versus Irene Caballo Rivera.
Reina is going to get in Caballoro's guts. It is going to be it's going to be hard to watch because if you guys saw what she did to Andy Nguyen, that shit that might be one of the loudest body shots that I have ever heard in my entire combat sports watching lifetime. That was like, it sounded like somebody took a baseball bat to like, it was ridiculous. So yeah, I don't see it going any other way than another body shot TKO. Like it's.
Okay, that's interesting.
Are you picking against Reina Kubota?
You know what? I'm actually going to go with the underdog here. And I'll tell you what, Cabello's had a weird trajectory as well because, that scene out of Spain, kind of iffish competition. It's not a great foundation to start off. You really have to travel around to make that work. But she's been training at Jackson Winklejohn for the last few, so I don't know, man. I think she might be able to be ready and have a more.
Yeah.
Okay, but hang on a second. See, I don't know
what happened was
what happened. That's how you know you're gonna hear some bullshit. No, dude, I really think that Cabello's got a better chance than most people think. I'm still gonna go with Kubota. I'm still gonna go with Kubota.
I was gonna say, like,
but I think
we all
she's
know
gonna make
where all the chips are in this fight.
I'm just letting people know so that they're ready for it when they see it. That there's gonna be Kubota's gonna spend a little more time on the ground than she bargained for here. And she's not going to get away with the same kind of body shots or the same, the feints aren't going to be as effective. There's going to be much more competitive action standing, and that eventually is going to be pulling away by Kubota.
I'm surprised. There are a few odds, not many up on this yet, but I forgot the Asakura versus Oliveira. Asakura is a slight underdog, in fact, opening at plus 130 to Oliveira at minus 175. And then there aren't any odds on Kubota yet, so...
Yeah, and so you guys know, Reina Kubota is one of RIZIN's darlings. She is in any Japanese federation that she is one of their darlings, and they try to keep her at the top of the card as much as possible. So.
Yeah,
for good reason.
So, to your thoughts, Kubota versus Asakura in the finals for both of you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I could. See, that's a tough one because Asakura is strong enough to nullify a bit of the striking there and could, grind out a decision. But if she can't do that, she's gonna get lit up. But like and Kubota has for being someone that came from shoot boxing, she has a pretty well-rounded ground game. Instead of just like the standing submissions and such that you could do in shoot boxing. So, she won't be completely lost if it goes to the ground, but it's a tough one. Like I would still lean towards Kubota on this one just off of her striking being so far ahead. But I would not be surprised at all if Asakura was able to grind out a decision.
And Vic, who would you pick?
I think that first fight's going to take just enough out of Asakura that by the time she actually faces Kubota, I don't know if she's going to be able to keep the kind of pace that Kubota won't be able to withstand. Not only that, but I just, Reina's just, all the fights are going to start standing. She's that much better standing. It's just going to be one of those things where I can see Kubota sweeping at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is actually my thought would be that Kubota with her kickboxing history and shoot boxing history is probably a lot better suited to fighting twice in one night.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, definitely for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, lightweight bout. Takanori Gomi versus Yusuke Yachi. Either of you fuckers take longer than a minute on this fight, I will mute the hell out of you. So, Vic, start it off. You have 1 minute. Go.
Okay. I want you to look at Gomi's last few fights in the UFC and then look at Yachi's last 4 fights. Like that monster knee from hell where he killed Mario Sismundo, I don't think he's been heard from since, and absolutely brutalized Darren Cruikshank. Anybody betting on Takanori Gomi, you're fucking degenerate and you deserve to lose everything.
All right.
The end.
Yep.
True. This is the same shit. Like, he is going to light Takanori Gomi on fire in this goddamn fight. Like, Gomi always has that otherworldly, lights out flash KO power, but he has looked like shit the past decade. And Yachi is going to, if you guys didn't see what he did to Kitaoka and to Cruikshank, he beat the fuck out of both of them. So yeah, this is no. If you pick against Gomi, you deserve to lose all of your money.
Yeah, I mean, I hoped when Gomi said he was going to RIZIN, they would just throw him in some grappling matches and be like,
"That's not what they do in Japan."
I know.
But we live in hope. I mean, I
hope he would get the Frank Trigg versus Sakuraba treatment kind of thing.
Yeah. Shout out to Frank Trigg's
or not Frank Trigg, but Frank Shamrock. Frank Shamrock.
Still, shout out to Frank Trigg's beard.
Yeah. For his reffing recently. I was hoping they'd do the Frank Shamrock Sakuraba thing. Make, just do something nice for the dude. Let him ride off into the sunset.
You have to die on your shield in Japan. That is how you do it.
All right.
Tried to do it.
It's the land of the rising sun, not the sunset, Zane. Duh.
Gomi opened at plus 400. He's currently at plus 403. Yachi opened at minus 600. He's currently at minus 597. Yeah. Fucking hell, man.
Yeah.
All right. Women's flyweight bout. Shinju Nozawa Auclair versus Chelsea Legrasse. And she's American, so it's Legrasse.
Yeah.
And Dia, what are your thoughts?
I'm going with Legrasse on this one. She already beat Nozawa Auclair in their AMI records or such. And like, so Auclair is Nozawa Auclair. She's another one that they're really trying to push in RIZIN. So they're like, oh, bring back somebody that you fought already. Maybe you can beat him this time. I don't see it happening here. Like I have a feeling this is going to be one of those times where what they want to happen is not going to happen.
Yeah. Vic, who are you picking?
Yeah, man. See, that's the thing. I'm kind of seeing like Tapology has that as a I mean, I'm looking at this as
a DQ win.
Yeah, a DQ win. So I'm not sure. Like, I mean, looking at what I was able to see from the fight, it just seemed like there was more of like a fugly boxing match. Like, Legrasse was much more the straightforward, just bite down on the mouthpiece and keep trying to throw, 1-2s and a couple of kicks.
It's gonna be entertaining, but.
Whereas Nozawa was much more like she was a lot less predictable. It was very wily, but it was much more of a mixed game with some really good kicks and stuff thrown in. But I don't really know, man. Legrasse looks like she hits harder. She's at least 3-0 with her amateur record, as far as I could find. Whereas Auclair is definitely the much more the person that clearly RIZIN wants to put on a pedestal, but. I don't know. I think that Legrasse can play the spoiler here, and in fact will, barring some sort of weird, I don't know, slip that knocks her on her face or some shit like that.
Legrasse comes out with the chair.
Legrasse is at plus 380 right now. Nozawa Auclair at minus 625. So the odds makers are opening that wide on her for reasons that are unclear to me. So. Anyway, that brings us to a heavyweight bout. Also, you guys have a minute each on this. If you take longer, I will just shut the show down entirely. And that is Mirko Cro Cop versus Tsuyoshi Kosaka. And Vic, is this a return of the TK guard? You have 1 minute to tell me no.
I think the only way Kosaka wins this fight is if Mirko hits him with one of those high kicks and breaks his shin on his fucking head. Other than that, I don't really see what. And you know what? Kosaka's probably durable enough still, even at this age, to withstand at least a good 5 or 6 of those and lose a decision. But come on, man. Have you seen Mirko Cro Cop? Now that he doesn't have that hard a training schedule, he's looking, he's looking. Not only is he looking buff because hey, Japan, but the fact he's taking his time to like refine himself. He feels young. He looks, agile. Like, come on, man, get the fuck out of here. And
yeah. Dio, a minute.
The year is 2004. We've been transported back to. I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to tell a story. I'm sorry. Okay, all right.
Who would like to hear a story about a bridge? But no, like this is stupid. This is a dumb bout. They're just going back on nostalgia. Like Cro Cop's not the Cro Cop of old. The canon is not what it used to be, but he's still gonna knock TK the fuck out. Like.
Yeah, and it's been really, really clear since Cro Cop went back to RIZIN how much he never should have left a ring ever in his life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
5 times the fighter in a ring that he ever was in the cage.
Like, if he cannot put someone into a corner, if he cannot continuously pressure people into the corner, he's fucked. And when you put him in something that is a circle, like the vast majority of his goddamn offense is gone.
Yeah.
Not only that, his ability to get out from having that structure behind him is severely compromised.
Yep. Yeah. So Cro Cop in a ring, like, you know, this is dude. He knocked the fuck out of King Mo last year. Like King Mo is 5 times the fighter that Tsuyoshi Kosaka is right now.
More than Kosaka could ever be in his life.
Life.
So it's all, that should be all one-way traffic. Odds on that. Cro Cop opened at -900, is currently at -957. Kosaka opened at +500, is currently at +553. That is your highlight of the RIZIN doubleheader, second leg World Grand Prix 2017 and World Grand Prix 2017 finale. Thanks everyone for tuning in. You can find me on Twitter at TheseAnytime. You can find Vic on Twitter at Vic M. Rodriguez. You can find Dio on Twitter at I'm Just Dio. That's DEO. You can find all 3 of us, well, not Dio as much anymore, over on Bloody Elbow.
Make Zane work.
Week in, week out. Yeah. Stay out. And I'll be back for the 6th round for the UFC 219 this weekend. Then I'll be back. We'll be back next week with all our normal shows we do for non-UFC weeks. If I did it, Heavy Hands, Knuckle Up, the MMA Depressed Us, all that good shit. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you again soon.
Shout out to